It's Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Corey and Mason.
Welcome to another episode of Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast, the podcast made by film fans for film fans. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Mason Schmidt, here with my best bud, Corey Knudsen.
Ew.
And we're going to talk movies. We're late this week. We had a bachelor weekend, so we're up in Duluth for the past couple of days, and we're recording this on a Monday. But thankfully, we were able to go see a movie today together. We're kind of following up Mortal Kombat 2, being able to see a movie together, which, again, is kind of a rarity at this stage in our lives. But we're just going to jump right into it. We have some smatterings of things that we're going to be polishing off as leftovers of the weekend. Corey, I believe you're drinking Bud Light Lime. I never really introduced the beverage, so that's a first for me, I think. But we want to get into the heart of this episode, move pretty quick. We saw Obsession, came out of that theater maybe an hour and a half ago. And this is coming from maybe a second-time director, Curry Barker. I'm not too familiar with his other two potential projects.
He did some Milk and Cereal is like an hour-long thing. I think it's on YouTube.
Okay.
But then they also, Curry Barker and Cooper Tomlinson, who's in Obsession, they have a sketch comedy channel called That's a Bad Idea. Really funny, really well made. So yeah, I've been watching them for like a few months and didn't realize that one of them was Curry Barker until pretty recently.
I hadn't known anything about their YouTube channel, their skits, but I recognize, we were driving back literally yesterday from Duluth, and the groom-to-be, the guy getting married, was sitting in the back of this minivan that we drove up to Duluth in, and he's like, hey, let me show you some of these sketches, it's kind of funny. And it was literally Curry Barker sketches. And I was like, he looks familiar. And I'm like, isn't that Curry Barker? And I pulled it up, and I was like, holy shit, I'm going to go see this guy's movie as soon as possible, because I hear nothing but great things. And it's, to give you a little bit of a rundown, after breaking the mysterious One Wish Willow to win his crush's heart, which he probably could have done without doing so, we'll talk about that, a hopeless romantic finds himself getting exactly what he asked for, but soon discovers that some desires come at a dark, sinister price. Not going to bury the lead too long. We both fucking loved this movie. This is such a satisfying horror film. And not only that, this, I feel like in a lesser director's hands, this would have been a way wackier. The tone would be all over the place, and it would lean too much on the laughs. This movie leans into the horror, and then there's a lot of funny fucking moments. But I was blown away by the performances all around, the premise, and I was waiting. I'm like, okay, how are you going to use this one premise? Like something that is not necessarily like the most revolutionary. I feel like we can kind of expect a lot of the things that were going to happen in this movie. Not that I could nail down every single aspect of like what happens with a cat and breaking through a glass window using a brick to help your way through the facial reconstructive surgery of a person. I really enjoyed this movie, and it was just such a pleasant time at the theaters, just being so buckled in from the start, knowing that and feeling like I was in capable hands right away, and just getting to go on a ride where I'm like, I fucking love this, and I it just felt well thought out.
100%. Super quickly before I give my thoughts on it and we dive into it a little more, you mentioned the Bachelor weekend. I just wanted to shout out some people very quickly at the top of the episode here. Shout out all the boys that were there. Yeah. It was such a fun time. Exploring Duluth, having a lot of fun, just drinking. A lot of drinks, throwing the pigskin around, playing poker. It was a great time. I want to shout out Faisal, our Uber driver, back-to-back.
Unintentionally back-to-back, but it just worked out that way.
Drove us to the bar, drove us back from the bar. The song Billie Jean was played by him on YouTube, not on a streaming service.
I don't think he has Spotify.
No, he played Billie Jean. He's like, initially he was like, you guys like Michael Jackson? We're like, yeah, that's pretty good. Sure. Plays Billie Jean. We're like, all right, yeah, we're having a good time. Just, we're having a great time. And then he just plays it again, and we're like, all right, we'll do that.
That's kind of funny.
And he's like, you guys like Billie Jean? I said, yeah, no, we and then he played it 100 other times. Yeah. And then shout out to this group of girls that we met up there that were super fucking cool. Yeah. We hung out for the weekend. Madison with an A. Shout out to you. Shout out to Mary, who said she was going to listen to the podcast maybe.
Sorry if you are.
Sorry if you are, but also it was really cool when we asked you what your favorite movie was, and one of them was The Equalizer.
Fucking wild.
Awesome.
Really cool. You don't expect that to hear that pick from people.
Yeah, so that was great.
Interesting.
So anyways, just wanted to shout out the Bachelor weekend. Again, like Mason said, that's why we're a little late. But back to Obsession. This movie fucking blew me away. Like, walking out of the theater, I was just so pumped. I'm still pumped. I love being this excited about a movie, and I haven't had that yet this year, even with movies I really liked, like The Drama and Hokum. I enjoy those movies a lot. I think they're really good. But this one, just from a not first time director like we said, but just one of these guys again, like the Jordan Peele, the Philippou brothers, Zach Kreger, like sketch comedy or YouTube channels, Chris Stuckman also last year, like that are coming in with these awesome horror visions and just delivering some of the better horror movies in recent years. And just on a filmmaking level, this movie is so well shot. Mm-hmm. There are so many long takes in this movie where it's just a wide shot of characters talking, and it's like the close-ups feel like they're necessary for you to see. And the movie's edited by Curry Barker too, and it just feels like he just had such a control of what he wanted to do. Yeah. And it's so impressive from somebody that, like, the budget for this movie is super low. Like, I don't even remember how much it was, but maybe like $1 million or something. But I think it made like $16 million in its first weekend, so already a profitable movie. And just, I think they shot it like in 20 days too. So
approximately $1 million for a production budget. Yep,
that's crazy. Like $1 million, 20 days, and it feels like this is a seasoned horror director already.
Yeah.
Man, this is great. The performances here, Michael Johnston in the lead is a really compelling character that, like you mentioned, you're like, you're rooting for the guy, but he also makes decisions where you're like, you're being a fucking bitch right now.
Yeah.
Just stop it.
And there are moments that, like, you immediately get the chemistry of all the characters. It is that may be showing its hand a little bit of, like, you can tell it's a smaller budget horror film, maybe, just because we do have a tight-knit group of characters. There's maybe 5 people here, including Andy Richter in a short, really, like, I don't think he really has, like, a talking role or, like, a really big scene in where he is, like, the main actor in shot or in frame. So that was interesting, but the characters, you felt like they work together. They're friends. They have camaraderie. They go out for drinks afterwards, and some might be a little bit more flirtatious than others. And you can tell with our lead, played by Michael Johnston, where he lacks a lot of that confidence. He doesn't see a lot of self-worth in himself. He's a little down on his luck, a little depressed. Spoiler alert: this happens in maybe the first 2 seconds of the movie. His cat dies. He's kind of down, but he has this obsession with his coworker, and he just wants Nikki to reciprocate that. But you can tell through their kind of dynamic, she might already have those feelings for him. He's just not confident to take that step and push those and see if he can go somewhere with it. So it's just him kind of like fumbling and being awkward and not being sure of himself, and he's letting a good chance slip away from himself, and then he falls back on this One Wish Willow as a fix-all, but then obviously, again, reiterating kind of the synopsis of this movie, it doesn't go according to plan. And I really dug the performances here, especially since these are all actors that I'm guessing don't have the largest careers, don't have a lot of exposure. And like Corey said, there are a lot of long takes. And I'm going to butcher her name, but she's the lead that plays Nikki. Is it Inde Navarrete?
Indy Navarrete, I think it is.
She is sensational, and she's going to blow up huge after this movie. 1, she is stunning. But 2, again, a lot of long takes of her acting, and there is a kind of an aspect to her character where it almost is like a multiple personality or like a glitch in her. And she is like snapping out of things, or like she'll say, "Oh no, I'm sorry," and it feels like she's talking down to people at points, and it's just, there are scenes that are resting on her shoulders and her performance, especially a party scene that happens probably more in like the midpoint of the movie, that is so unbearably awkward and dark, really enjoyable, where it's just like, if this performance is a smidge too goofy, a little too campy, or a little bit flat, this entire scene in the last like 15 to 20 minutes won't work. And it's just so impressive to see an actor who I have no exposure to happily saddle all of that responsibility on themselves and be able to just fucking run. I talk about horror films not really being scary anymore, and movies not really getting to shake me. I was rocked by a girl that was maybe 120 pounds and just a sadistic smile. Are you fucking kidding me? And that comes down to the performances. It comes down to the direction and the editing and a lot of the shot composition. My one honest, like, maybe negative to this movie is that, and this is a negative that you can't really only base on this movie, it's just horror films in general. It's just kind of a trope of the genre. No one has good overhead lighting in their homes. But you need that for horror films. You need shadow. You need to be able to hide things in plain sight. And with that, there are some great shots of characters in shadow, characters kind of just lingering in frame, and you not noticing them until you need to. Kind of like the Toni Collette in Hereditary. Yep. It's just holy fuck was this great.
Indy Navarrette's physical performance, along with what you mentioned of there being a glitch almost, where there's scenes where she just flips on a dime, where it's like there's almost just two different people battling for control of the same body.
I think we should maybe get into spoilers.
Let's get into a little bit of spoilers. We recommend this movie a lot. It's been getting hyped up in like recent weeks, I feel like, but we think it lives up to the hype.
This is one of the few movies from this year where the hype maybe isn't enough. Like, this movie is exceptional.
Yeah.
And go see it. It's a great horror film. It's very fun. It's funny. And it's also somewhat grotesque. It gets really nutty at times. I really appreciated that as well.
This feels like it could be like when Jordan Peele made Get Out. And
bit,
everyone was like, oh shit. And then with years, that movie has just grown and grown and grown. So go see Obsession. It's great. But yeah, so with Indy Navarrette's performance where it's like... Once the One Wish Willow, which also I'm glad we saw it at Willow Creek Theater.
Yeah, also
nice
thought that was funny.
For the One Wish Willow stick that the main character breaks. And essentially it's kind of, you figure out that the real Nikki is kind of in this purgatory where she's inside or some other place where she's almost like Get Out a little bit.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of in there but you can't break through and be that person anymore. And just the performance in the eyes, smiles, long shots of just her smiling and standing. You mentioned, like, when she's in the corner or something, and just like the contortion of the body, walking backwards in a scene that looks incredible. Like the lighting we talked about a little bit too, where she's like mainly in the dark and you just see the eyes kind of glimmering a little bit through. It's creepy. It's fucking terrifying. Like, this movie scared me a lot, and we've talked about that, where a lot of them are like good, elevated horror movies that have a lot to say and do a lot of that, but aren't like really scary. This one freaked me out a lot. You mentioned the party scene is really great, where she's reading like this portion of her book that she talks about earlier in the movie, where when she was still Nikki and still normal, she was talking about writing a book that's a love story, not a romance.
Yeah.
Which I think is the theme for this movie, really.
Was
because
it part of the marketing, too? It might have even said that in the trailers, I feel like, somewhere. But that it rings true through the book and the movie.
And it really, I mean, like last year we talked about the movie Together, the horror movie. Another really good one.
I thought about that watching this, too.
Yeah.
I was like, if Corey loves Together, he's loving this.
And that movie dealt a lot with codependency between Dave Franco and Alison Brie as they kind of go away. This movie deals with some of those same themes too, but really more specifically with like the dangers of, kind of back to that, it's a love story, not a romance, where if the dangers of love in terms of like codependency and obsession versus romance, where it's like an actual genuine understanding and respect, where you can have love without romance and the vast gap between those two. And I think the movie handles it just in a really good way, where it's not beating you over the head, doesn't feel pretentious in any ways. And it's just kind of, the idea of like killing parts of yourself to be with someone, and what characters almost do at the end of a movie. And they're like, do I do this to save someone else or to be with someone else? It just all works so well for me.
And I really also, Cooper Tomlinson, he's another supporting performance in this film. He's sensational. He plays basically like the one sane person that our lead can go to, but this entire time they're like, why is Nikki acting so weird? And obviously Michael Johnston's character is the only one that really knows that, because he's the one that made the wish, but he's not outright comfortable sharing that information with people until shit's really hitting the fan and he has nowhere else to turn. There is a very fucking funny scene where Michael Johnston's character starts to kind of figure it out. He can, maybe I can make someone else wish away my wish. Like, because I only get one wish. I can't redo this or unwish my wish. I can maybe get someone else to play defense for me and wish away my wish. And once he's explaining this to Cooper Tomlinson's character, and he's just like, sure, buddy, fuck it, whatever. Yeah, I wish I had $1 billion. And then cash just rains from the ceiling of his home. And he's standing there like, huh? And Michael Johnston's just like, you fucking kidding me right now? And it's just, there's so many great comedic beats in this movie that I, one, wouldn't expect, and two, did not undermine the horror at all. Like, it didn't come at the expense of the horror. This film always retained great tension and good suspense in scenes. There's a lot of times where basically it is almost an abusive relationship that Michael Johnston has now wished upon himself. And any time he gets home, you feel like you're Michael Johnston, where you're just like, where is she? What's she gonna do? What's she gonna say? Oh, she pissed and shit on the rug. okay. Oh, she fed you some of your dead cat? Okay. Like, it's just, shit gets so weird and nutty. And I feel like I'm just going to sit here and glaze this entire movie if we talk about it for too long. It's just so well handled. I also like that they don't over-explain how the wishing system works. And there was a moment, and you can see it in the trailers, I think it was maybe their first trailer that they released, of Michael Johnson's character sitting in the theater, or in his car, calling like the helpline on the back of the One Wish Willow. And he's like, oh yeah, well, can't really help you. Like, do you want like submit a cancel request? We don't really do those. Do you want to talk to Nikki? And he's like, what? And then you hear potentially what Nikki's soul or whatever she's going through. I love that they don't over-explain it. You can kind of just like create an idea in your own mind, and it works so well. It's such a good dark film, and it's so surprising. I could not sing this movie's praises enough. In terms of this year, it's the one film that has had a big hype that I think deserves it. It is easily my favorite horror film of the year, over Hokum and others that I liked. Well, maybe not my favorite horror film. I don't look at zombie films as necessarily being horror. I guess by default it is. 28 years later, Bone Temple is still my favorite. This is comfortably right now at number 2, and then I think I have Exit 8 at number 3 for this year. So we're finally, and now that we have Passenger to look forward to, we have more horror films coming out in the next couple of months. Backrooms, that trailer is still so fucking good. We're in such a good spot for horror, and I feel like this, weirdly enough, is maybe a start of the summer movie season now that we have Mando and everything else coming out after this. This was just such a great wake-up call. And I came over today, after we went and saw it, we drove separate, and Corey had all of these films kind of set up. So we have, Talk to Me, Get Out, It Follows, Late Night with the Devil, Smile, Sinister, Heretic. These are all films that, over the past couple of years, horror films that we've really loved and have really made a big impression on both Corey and I. And perfect smattering of films. And honestly, when that 4K or Blu-ray or whatever they release of Obsession, it will be kind of within this pantheon of just great recent horror films that really just blew me away.
I think along with these Hereditary, Weapons, Barbarian, some of those other ones too, they're great. But man, this movie, you talked about the tone, just like blending it so well with horror and comedy, and that's a tough thing to do. But I think kind of back to the Jordan Peele comparison, you can see in Get Out and Us and Nope as well, like in their sketches, like how well they're made, but also like the dark comedy in there, and like how like freaky in terms of like a comedy sketch on YouTube. But I think that translates here so well. And again, just like of sitting with scenes, that's such a experienced director thing, where I feel like so many new directors are like, all right, we have to keep the audience doing this, but even like the initial scene of him making his wish is just really drawn out. And like even on the drive back, when you're like, is he gonna tell her that he likes her? How's this gonna go? She leaves, she comes back to the car, she goes into the house, he makes the wish, she comes back out to the car, and even then, like you're figuring out like, when is she gonna like, has she already happened? Did she come back normal? Like, it's just, you sit with that there. And also just like little scenes I love of him being like, hey, I'm gonna go to a boys' night, while she's in the bathroom, and you don't see her, but you just hear her in the shower, and she's like, oh, okay, I'll get ready in a little bit. He's like, it is just kind of the boys going. Shower turns off, something whips against the wall, and like, you don't see that, and it's up to you of like, what the fuck is she doing in there?
Okay, the sound effect of the shower slamming on jump scare, and it works. And then also the humor of like, if I told Allie, like, late at night, I'm going to go to a boys' night, she's not necessarily going to have that reaction, but, like, knowing the way that Michael Johnson's character is like, okay, well, I might go do this, and just, like, the hesitation with it, I'm like, God, that's so relatable. I love that. So I like how they handle, like, how they work in actual relationship dynamics into this film, while also, this is a horror film, and horrible shit that people really can't relate to, they make it relatable. So I really was pleasantly surprised by that too. I like that the film also isn't afraid to, one, there are moments where you're like, Michael Johnson, this character, what is this character's name? I just keep saying the actor's name. Do you remember? Bear. Yeah, I forget. They call him Bear. When Bear's character could do what he wants. He could achieve basically likely having a relationship with Nikki and not needing this wish, but he doesn't have the confidence. So you have that dynamic. And then you also get in this film, which again, kudos to Curry Barker, giving us a protagonist that is doing horrible shit and willing to continually do horrible shit. He recognizes the effect of his wish and the stranglehold it has on Nikki, and now she is dueling with some other entity for her body and for her mind. And it's basically like the sunken place in Get Out, or even like in Split, like who's sitting on the chair, who's running the ship. And I was just really blown away by that. And when he realizes that Nikki is still in there, she just doesn't always have the microphone, basically. And she sometimes is able to send a cry for help. And he's like, nope, I'm just going to leave. You see that he feels bad, but he also likes that he still has her. I was so blown away by that. Just fucking, like, I don't want to say, like, it's a perfect movie, but I struggle to come up with an actual, like, big negative to this movie. I was really blown away.
I think another just real part of kind of the relationships, obviously, you talked about, like, the, you know, obsessive girlfriends or obsessive boyfriend, controlling boyfriends, whatever side you want to look at. But even just, like, the realistic shit of, and I think kind of maybe, like, a under talked about part of this movie, maybe, is that you find out that Nikki and Ian had been hooking up pretty casually for a while. That's such, like, a very real thing in, like, a group of friends or in, like, high school or early 20s, whatever. But it also adds so much context to the beginning of the movie when Ian's like, all right, well, you can talk to Nikki and, like, call her Freaky Nikki. Like, that'll be funny. And then he does it, and then she's like, why the fuck would you say that? You know I hate when people say that. So, like, just things earlier in the movie, again, that's, like, just an experienced director of foreshadowing and writing that into the screenplay. So we're glazing the hell out of this movie, but it deserves it.
It's fantastic.
Curry Barker, man, this is a star-making directorial performance. Indy Navarrete, the star-making performance as far as acting goes. I cannot wait to see what else Curry Barker's going to do. We talked about Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, that's exciting.
I know he's got a couple other movies in development, and he has a lot of short films that I actually really want to check out. I'm sure they'll be really cool. So
he has a Zach Kreger-like trajectory.
Yeah.
Like Barbarian to Weapons to now Resident Evil and other stuff that he has rumored. It's like I could easily foresee the same for Curry Barker, but especially with this being your first really at the gate, here we go, this is my horror film. Fucking awesome. So,
also, just to cap it out, I think a perfect ending. And
awesome. Literally a perfect ending. Like, you could not write a better ending to that.
And I was just reading up after we got out of the movie a little bit that his original ending had Nikki dying as well. I don't know if it was in place of Bear or like if everyone died.
Again, this is a spoiler. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we said
already
spoiler
said spoiler alert.
So.
But like, if you're like, surely they're done talking about this movie. We're not. We're still glazing it. But
if you're trying to skip forward in the
sorry,
sorry about that. We'll get to some stuff in a second. But like his original ending had Nikki dying as well, but then other people gave him some feedback, and he took that and was like, you know what, that actually does work better.
Yeah.
That's also a very mature thing to not have this ego of like, no, I'm this wunderkind, like I'm going to make this.
Every
my
idea
vision.
I have is the right idea.
Like he's just like, from what I kind of understand, he just sat with it and was like, you know what, yeah, let's do that. And that's even more horrifying that she has to see what's been happening and realize that in this weird state where she's like, I don't know if I know what's going on.
Yeah.
I like that they don't explain it either.
Yeah.
You just leave it. It's a great shot that just kind of flips on a TV. Credits start going. Great.
Yeah.
Love it. This movie's awesome. Again, go check it out. We could talk for another hour about this movie probably, but really, really good. Really fun to see it with you again at the Willow Creek. Was a fun little time. But the other kind of big thing this week that came out was The Punisher: One Last Kill, which feels like a long-ass time ago that came out. And then I watched that.
Us.
Yeah, it was a busy weekend. But in preparation for that, I had never seen any of the Punisher movies that came out. And so I decided to watch through those this week. I kind of did a similar thing last year with like Fantastic Four movies and the Superman movies. So just going through some comic book stuff has been pretty fun. Not going to spend too much time on these movies because I want to get to One Last Kill. But the first one being The Punisher 1989, Dolph Lundgren in the starring role. It is a pretty fun 80s action movie. If you like that, I think we both grew up with those. So it's like, sweet. It's just Dolph Lundgren being sweaty, harpooning guys to vans and then ziplining down and just shooting people. Yeah, that's cool. I like watching that. It's more so a good action movie, not as much like a Punisher movie. It doesn't feel like it has a lot of the DNA of any of the comics or the storylines. It has his family dying, and he's going after all these crime bosses. But it doesn't really, he never wears the Punisher suit or anything, so it doesn't, you don't feel like it's a comic book movie per se. It was still the early days of adapting these things, but there's some pretty cool action scenes in here, though. I mean, there's a lot of different crime families, and the main kind of end one takes place in a Yakuza house with, a bunch of samurai, and Dolph Lundgren just comes out of an elevator and just mowing down fucking dudes. I'm like, this is fun to watch. I enjoy it. I guess my flaws with it, I kind of mentioned it's not as much of a great Punisher movie, and there's not really a clear, consistent villain. There's, a lot of different mob bosses, and so you never hate one of them. They're just kind of all there, and then they get taken out, and you're like, okay, you're there, you're done now. But it was cool, though. I mean, it's a fun kind of early comic book movie, same year as Batman '89. Just interesting to think of how they were. One of them is kind of a classic. The other one's people probably don't even know that this movie exists.
I was going to say, people probably just are like, Dolph Lundgren was Frank Castle at one point? It's crazy.
Also, good casting, though. I think
he works, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fun. The next Punisher movie we had was in 2004 with Thomas Jane, and I enjoyed this one quite a bit. I think this is maybe my favorite of the Punisher movies I watched.
Okay.
This and Warzone, which we'll talk about, are pretty close. There's really not a big gap between these three. I could throw on any of them and have a good time. But I did like Thomas Jane as the Punisher. This one, you get more of the backstory compared to the '89 version. You really get him and his family, and it's even more so here, where it's not just his wife and kids that get killed. It's his entire family at a reunion.
All of his relatives.
Including Roy Scheider. Which I'm like,
I forgot that he's in that. Yes.
Yeah, he's Frank Castle's dad.
Yeah, his dad.
And he's like, I got these guns that we can use. I'm like, we'll probably revisit those later. So it's the whole family, and you're like, oh my god, this is your aunts and uncles are just everybody's fucking dead.
Wiped out.
But I had a good time with this movie. I think it's a little. There's not as much punishing really in the middle chunk of this movie. It's kind of more Frank Castle being not detective really, but he's kind of plotting against John Travolta, who again is a crime boss, and he's kind of pitting his inner circle against him and just kind of doing things in the background. I'm like, I don't mind this, but I kind of want to see you punishing.
Yeah, go kill some guys.
Go kill some dudes, whatever. John Travolta, he's fine as the villain in this movie. Whoa. Also, it is storming crazy. Yeah. I'm pretty sure the mic picked that up because it picked up the street racing from the other week. So, you probably heard that.
You'll probably hear raindrops and more cracks of thunder. It's kind of good that we started off with a horror film, I feel like.
Enjoy the ambiance of us talking about this with the rain going. But John Travolta's a fine villain in the movie. Not very memorable, I wouldn't say. But there's a fun fight against the Russian in an apartment where he's just breaking down the door and just going through all the different rooms and breaking shit. That was pretty cool. You do have Ben Foster and Rebecca Romijn Stamos at the time. Not anymore, I don't think.
Never knew that.
Jan Levinson Gould.
No Gould.
But they're the neighbors in the movie, and I know they're part of the comics, but to me they're just kind of you're here too. I kind of just want to go see Thomas Jane kill people.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's a little bit too long as well. I think it could be trimmed down. Maybe one more good action scene in the middle chunk of the movie would have helped it a bit. But I still had a good time with it, and it is that early 2000s. This was coming out in the age of the first X-Men movies, Spider-Man movies, so I'm surprised I never watched it, but it was cool to check that off the list. Very quickly, Thomas Jane came back as the Punisher in a short film, excuse me, called Dirty Laundry, which I don't know if it's actually canon, really, but it's on YouTube, 10 minutes, and they use the score from The Dark Knight in it, and I didn't know if that was just the version I was watching on YouTube, and then I read up and they actually used it. I don't know how that works.
The rights to that, or how you're able to get away with doing that?
I don't understand, but basically he's just trying to do some laundry, and some dudes are beating up a kid in the street, beating up a woman in the street, so he just goes to the bar. Ron Perlman's the store clerk, and Frank Castle just buys a bottle of Jack, goes fucks up the dudes, finishes his laundry. Fun little short film.
Yeah.
I like it. I kind of wish we got more stuff like this, or the the Marvel one-shots
One-shots.
back in the day. Like,
Yeah,
I like
those
these little
are sweet.
stories. Yeah, they're
I
cool.
remember like being so on top of watching everything Marvel or MCU related that I was up to date on all the one shots. Now it's
Yeah.
just like, all right, I skipped Disney Plus series entirely, and it's just like, oh, I miss the early excitement of those.
Yeah. So yeah, that Dirty Laundry came out in 2012. It was cool, just a little watch to check it out. Punisher Warzone, which Mason was hyping up to me this week when I told him I was kind of prepping for this watch through. Ray Stevenson comes in as the Punisher. This movie came out in 2008. Again, just interesting to think like Dark Knight and Iron Man, like what was coming out in that time, comic book wise.
No one talks about Warzone.
Nobody talks about Warzone, and they should because this movie's good. I think this one is more fun in the action department than the 2004 one. I think Ray Stevenson is my favorite movie Punisher. I like him a lot, and I think it really does give you, like, he's got the Punisher suit on from the beginning. We don't really have to do the origin story here. We just jump into him being Punisher.
Very grateful for that. I love that this is like Thomas Jane's Punisher is you get like the origin story, like the typical Superman origin story, or superhero origin story, where he is like I feel like he becomes the Punisher at the end of the movie, and that is kind of the reasoning for me, at least, why the movie feels a little too slow. Warzone, he is just from the get-go. He's already been doing this. He's known by the authorities as the Punisher. He is outright wrecking fools and wrecking shop, which I love. And I love how campy not campy, but just how out there this film is willing to go. Like, when a person gets shot with an RPG doing parkour in midair and
I had that as a note.
explodes,
Hilarious.
awesome. Just whack shit like that. This movie does get campy with some of the performances and stuff, and the color, like the lighting in this movie is so wild. Wayne Knight is in this movie.
He's Micro, yeah.
He's Micro. It's just so interesting. But this movie I watched a lot as a kid, weirdly enough, and I watched it at my uncle's house a lot growing up. I love this fucking movie. But anyways, you saw it for the first time, so more of your thoughts, please.
I think one of the interesting things that, since we didn't do the origin here, a really like good story beat is that Frank kills an undercover agent at the beginning of the movie.
Yep.
And then he has to deal with his wife and kid not trusting him as he's trying to protect them from the criminals. Like, that's a really good starting point for this type of movie.
And how he feels that regret throughout the entire time of he's like, I mean to do good by what I do, even though what I'm doing isn't necessarily good. Mm-hmm. Like, your husband got caught in the crosshairs and I'm sorry. Like,
right. And trying to prove it to them throughout the movie, I think works really well. I think my biggest issue with the movie is just tonally it feels a little weird because there's some really gruesome, violent action, like you mentioned, the parkour shit. The opening scene's really fun, swinging on the chandelier, fucking
awesome
around.
shot.
Really cool. And then the end is kind of like abandoned building and he's just taking down dudes. A great scene is like, you see kind of a side shot of like one side of the room, there's these guys waiting for Frank. The other one, he goes in and then just sticks his gun through the door and then rocket launches and just blows him up. That's a great scene.
That is one. We've talked about it a little bit before we started recording, but I love that specific moment, and I didn't bring that up to you, and I love that part.
It's really good. So all the action is really fun. All the darker elements to the movie I like. I think where it gets a little like goofier is with the villains of the movie. Dominic West plays Jigsaw. Then you have Doug Hutchinson playing Looney Bin Jim. He just takes bites out of people sometimes, or whatever he does. And they were a bit goofy for me. I think Jigsaw's a cool villain, but they still just haven't got him right, even with the show.
Yeah,
it's like, it's okay. So there's some tonal inconsistencies. I think that's maybe why I prefer the 2004 one, just a hair more. But yeah, I also just don't. There's a scene at the end where Wayne Knight's tied up, and then the wife and the daughter are tied up, and they end up killing Wayne Knight, and
that always threw me. Just the way that that's done, and how like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah, I like the idea of it, that because normally the hero would save everybody.
Yeah.
The problem is that I didn't really feel a connection with Micro because he's in like 2 scenes before that.
Yeah, he's
like,
not in it a whole lot.
I thought you guys were like friends. I didn't feel the impact of it, but I enjoyed all 3 of these movies though, and the Dirty Laundry short film. I thought it was just really fun. I'd kind of been waiting for a time to watch these Punisher movies, and this was a great opportunity to do that. We've obviously had John Bernthal in the role, coming in Daredevil Season 2, which I think is probably the best chunk of Punisher that we've ever had. Movie or TV. I think just that conversation on the roof we talked about last week is great.
Episodes of Daredevil.
Yeah, and it's great. And you get his origin in a good way there. The 2 seasons of the show kind of retread a bit of just like, let's do the origin again. And not all the villains work for me there. It's very okay. We had Born Again Season 1. John Bernthal showed up again. I liked his scenes in that first season, but That leads us to one last kill. Finally, after all this history of the Punisher, it was a Marvel special presentation.
Yep.
What did you think about it?
I was a bit underwhelmed. Mostly, I think maybe I did this to myself. I'll admit to that, as I was hoping that this would involve Frank Castle, since he's been absent from the most recent season of Born Again, hopefully doing something to the effect of bringing Fisk to justice, shooting and killing Fisk. Fisk now being on a tropical island paradise, wherever the fuck he is. We're not there. We're with John Bernthal's Frank Castle, basically talking to ghosts in an apartment while people are after him because of these murders that he did of this, Ganucci family. And I don't know, I felt like this story was just, it was dirty laundry again. It was dirty laundry, but 44 minutes of it. So I didn't really connect with a lot of the story. I didn't care, and it just felt so kind of, there was no specialness to this. It was just a random crime family that we've never heard of really until now. 4 maybe members have died by the hand of the Punisher, and now this one remaining member is like, I'm coming for you, and you have this amount of ticking clock time, and all my guys will come and get you. And it's just like, okay, sure, fine. Granted, the action's great. It is very much like the John Wick raid-style action, especially it being kind of set, almost a lot of it being set in an apartment building, almost like Dredd and stuff like that. The gun violence is great. It is the most I felt like the Punisher punishing, at least with this new MCU iteration of it, so I appreciate that. Performances are good. John Bernthal is kind of doing his thing that I harp on too much of one match, 2 match. There's a scene where he is just really losing his shit shirtless, and if you frame that right, it looks like he's masturbating. There's sometimes where I'm like, you're too much. You got to rein it in at least a little bit. I know you're fucked in the brain. I've seen these characters. I've seen this character before. I've seen these movies. I get it, but do something new with it, which I feel like we just didn't get that. It just felt like a day in the life of the Punisher, which it's a special presentation. Maybe that's all you should expect. But there are 2 disappointing technical qualities to this that people keep talking about. One being that already infamous shot of Frank Castle getting thrown off of a part of the roof and landing on an AC unit. And they had to do face replacement, obviously, to put Bernthal's face onto a stunt double. Doesn't look great. That doesn't really bother me that much. It's not necessarily a blink and you miss it, because it's almost like it's done in slow-mo. It's like, oh, okay, you guys had too much confidence for what you gave me. The thing that pissed me off was the sound mixing. The sound mixing of that initial release, which I think they've mentioned that they're going to try and patch it and re-release it. Sure, don't give a fuck. Your opening day or your premiere date that you guys were gunning for was May 12th. You put out the best version possible on May 12th. Otherwise, don't put it out on May 12th. I couldn't fucking hear anything. I had my volume on my TV, usually when it's around 20, that's loud. I had it at fucking 60, and I couldn't hear what they were saying. But when a gunshot went off, I was deaf. The sound mix of this was horrible. It was so frustrating to try and watch this that I was so excited for it to be done. And this, overall, it's not bad. It's fine. It's just a bit kind of, I don't know, uneventful to me. And it lacks any sort of big stamp of oh fuck, this is gonna have repercussions, or oh, this is cool. It's just more of what we already have seen, and then an iffy viewing experience because you gave me a shitty sound quality. So I don't know. This was a bit of a letdown for me.
For me, it was really a tale of 2 halves. This is about 50 minutes with credits, I think. So the first 20 to 25 or so really are just kind of like we talked about, retreading the pain of losing his family, which is obviously a core part of the character, but I think a part why we like Warzone a lot is that we just can jump into being the Punisher. And I feel like we've put in the work of 2 seasons and then parts of other seasons of seeing the backstory and seeing him 1 batch, 2 batch, painting, dying, all that stuff. We've gone through that. It feels like we keep going backwards. I'm I want to go forwards with the Punisher now.
Give me Frank Castle, which you'd have to do a lot of adjustments to the character, but you could progress, make a choice of progressing this character to wanting to work for not necessarily S.H.I.E.L.D., but wanting to work with a team, something like that, kind of, or the Defenders, or with Daredevil.
Thunderbolts. Put him in there.
Thunderbolts. Have him do something that's you know what, this is what I have been, but you know what, now what do I want to do with it, as opposed to just in the fucking apartment room, seeing the ghosts of his dead Marine soldiers, and just, oh my god! It's like, fucking, dude, you're trying to sell me that you're badass, but you keep crying about this every 5 minutes. I know your entire family got wiped, and like, granted, that's a big thing, but you're gonna make me sit through 2 seasons of a show, basically a season of Daredevil, half a season of Daredevil Born Again, and now give me a one shot of you still crying about it? Fucking move on, dude. Do something with it. Don't sit there and sulk about it. Like, come on.
I agree. And within those kind of visions, you know, he sees Curtis, which is great to see. I like that character from the Punisher show. Karen Page makes an appearance, which that was my favorite of the... Because he kind of has Curtis and his Marines, and then he goes to the cemetery at one point and sits by his family. But Karen's was my favorite. Mainly just, like, one line from John Bernthal. He's like, are you actually here? Like, are you here? And, like, he kind of starts breaking down, which was, like, really nice moment between... I like their chemistry throughout all of the seasons of the shows. So... we kind of do that for like 20 minutes, and then the mom of the Nucci family comes and is like, like, you wiped out. Again, I'm like, how many people can be connected to his family getting wiped out? I'm like, I feel like we've probably taken him out at this point. Let's move on. But anyways, like, he took out 4 or 5 of them. And then we do get into that kind of Raid and John Wick stuff. I do love the kind of intro to the action scene where there's gas coming underneath his door, and then he just starts on fire a little bit, breaks through and starts killing dudes. I'm like, all right, this is what I want.
This is cool.
Not to be like, I want action more than character stuff, but it's because we've had a lot of that character stuff.
Either give me new story or just give me good action. And
right.
This only gave me the good action.
And once the action gets kicking, it's fucking fun. Yeah. Like, it's that efficient killer just being like headshots every time. Yeah. Like one of my favorite parts too is just using a bunch of different weapons like pipes and axes, and like picking up a gun but only has 2 bullets in it, so you have to reload or chuck the gun at him. Yeah. Like, doing different stuff I really enjoy. And then you kind of get him like saving the little girl instead of choosing to go after the mom of the crime family. Like a sweet moment where she gives him like the rose or whatever it is. Yeah. Like, let's close that out. That's a nice moment with like the family. Like, this is your daughter kind of speaking through this little girl. Let's not end it there, but like use this as a jumping off point maybe. Yeah, and then at the end, he dons the Punisher suit again, which looks great. But again, I would have loved to have seen him wear it through the fighting. Yeah, would have been cool. That VFX shot. That's people have harped on a lot now, but when I was watching, I'm like, oh fuck.
I know. Yeah. It's something that you will notice it when it's happening. Like, you will be like, oh, that's not good. And then I remember thinking that and just being like, oh god, and then everyone took that and ran with it. I was like, yeah, that is not great.
Yeah, not great. But I do like these special presentations though. I wish we had more of them, and I think it's a good route to go. I do still like Werewolf by Night the best, and then I think the Guardians Holiday Special is pretty fun. Yeah, a bunch of different vibes than the Punisher one, but I think they all succeed. I prefer this 50-minute Punisher thing as opposed to like a season of doing this story, like and expanding it out. So it's good. I think it's, again, I don't know exactly when in the timeline it is. I know they've said it's after like he breaks out of the cage and Born Again or whatever, but there's no like really connective tissue as much. He just kind of gets the suit, and we'll see him in Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'm assuming it's in between those two, but it's good. I thought it was the action's fun. We've just hit a lot of these same beats before that we can kind of move on from now.
I also like that he had time to get a fresh haircut when he dons the suit again before he walks into that final like little snippet, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But it's not horrible. It is probably my least favorite of the special presentations. I would honestly prefer if they would move away from doing Disney Plus series, Marvel series at all, and just do special presentations. Yeah, I don't need a full series of certain characters. I don't need Vision Quest, even though I'm like everything I keep hearing about. I'm like, oh, this might actually kind of be cool, even though I'm not the most excited about it. I think Werewolf by Night, give me offshoot stories about characters that maybe you can't. There's not enough kind of desire for a full feature on. Maybe you turn Blade into a fucking special presentation at this point, since you guys can't crack a film. But I like that aspect of like, all right, this character, we'll touch on them. We'll bring them into the MCU a little bit. We'll do our little flavoring and try and see if we can incorporate them later. I think that's such a cool
Bring Moon Knight back for something. Bring Moon Knight back, if you don't want to do another season, like you said. I think it's good. Last thing on that, if you're not a fan of violence against dogs, there's a pretty early scene that's very sad.
And it also just felt like too cartoony, too bad. Like, I'm just like, really? Like, this is happening? Like, I get you have to set the tone of like, oh, this is going to be kind of nutty and really egregious at times. But I was just like, it felt too much. Like, it felt too over the top for me. But yeah, that was also really like, oh, we're starting with that? Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I know it's supposed to make you
Yeah.
sad, but I'm just like, okay.
Makes me feel nasty.
Right.
But, anyway, moving into the new releases for this upcoming week, at the end of this week, May 22nd, we have, obviously, Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu, directed by Jon Favreau. This is with Martin Scorsese was the first cast member I wanted to list for some reason,
yeah.
even though he's probably going to have a smaller role with Pedro Pascal, Sigourney Weaver, and Jeremy Allen White, and whoever does the fucking voice of Grogu, don't really know. And this is just a continuation of the Din Djarin story, and I'm excited to see that, and maybe we'll actually check that out in theaters this week together. We have Passenger, another hopefully really good horror film coming from director Andre Orvidal, who did The Autopsy of Jane Doe and The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which both of those films are really, really good. He also, I think, did Troll Hunter in there as well. I'm really excited. The trailers have been great. The trailers remind me, like the announcement trailer for Passenger reminds me of Obsession's marketing. So I'm just like, I'm really hopeful that we can kind of just build up momentum of good horror films back to back. We also have I Love Boosters, which is coming from director Boots Riley, who directed Sorry to Bother You, which is one of my favorite films I've seen in the last maybe 20 years. I love that movie. I think it's so bonkers. This is starring Keke Palmer, Lakeith Stanfield, Demi Moore, and Adam Devine. A group of shoplifters take aim to a cutthroat fashion maven by stealing her clothes and reselling them at a lower price, what they call fashion-forward philanthropy. It looks crazy. The colors are spastic. I'm sure Will Poulter's in there too, just based on the trailers. Really excited for that, and I might have a big week between trying to catch up on Is God Is and then these first three movies that I just listed off here for you. We also have Corporate Retreat, directed by Aaron Fisher. This is a smaller horror film. It has a pretty kitschy premise, so I would recommend watching the trailer, but it's a bunch of corporate executives on a team-building retreat face a deadly struggle when their leader turns violently against them. It gives me almost like Belko Experiment, somewhat, of just kind of chamber piece stuck in a confined location, trying to escape and trying to not get killed. I'm not really the most excited for that, or at least of the five that we are talking about here. If I had time, I'd maybe check it out, but it might be like a streaming release later on down the line, because I'm really excited for those other three films that we have coming out this week. Moving into a physical media roundup, I loved Mortal Kombat 2. I think it's an awesome movie, and I'm excited to watch it, so I pre-ordered that 4K Blu-ray Steelbook, and we'll have that delivered here whenever the fuck that gets announced, and I can't wait. Steelbook art is pretty cool. Really dig that. And then with the film that Corey got me Lost Highway for my birthday. Since I already owned it, I brought it to Barnes & Noble, and I got a movie that I'm like, this would do Corey proud. I refunded it, returned it. It was a 1-to-1 switch or trade-in, basically just based on the price. And I got the 4K Blu-ray of Marty Supreme, the A24 release.
Hell yeah.
Happy to add that to my collection. That being your favorite film from last year, and a really great movie for me. So yeah, I had a pretty good week for movies. I'm trying to cut down as I'm moving into my house and getting shit settled. But
once you get settled in, then you start ramping it up again.
It sucks because I feel like ever since we got the house and it was a go on that, it just feels like I am bleeding money right now. So still finding time for movies.
But yeah, this week, just to go back to the new releases for a second, I'm gonna do a little. I'm gonna watch the Ewok movies this week. The Ewok movies. You ever seen them?
If you want to do that to yourself, you can go.
They're the only Star Wars movies I haven't seen.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know what? I've seen the holiday special.
There's two, right?
Two, yeah. And then there's like an animated show, but I'll watch the two movies. I've heard just wild things. I'm like, this will be fun.
Yeah. Wookiee sex or Wookiee porn. What is it?
Oh yeah, that's in the holiday special.
That's in
yeah,
the holiday
he's got like the VR glasses.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Okay.
So we'll see how that is, but try and find Star Wars stuff I haven't seen in preparation for Mando. But excited for Passengers. I Love Boosters. Good release week. I like Alan Ruck being in Corporate Retreat because from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, probably most famously, but also had a great little career resurgence in Succession as Connor. So great in that show. So cool to see him kind of leading a movie. As far as physical media stuff, I didn't buy anything this week, but we do have quite a few things coming out. We have Avatar, Fire and Ash, all the different 4K and 3D versions that you could want of that movie.
That you don't want of that movie.
I would buy it. I mean,
to complete the collection, but not.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled about a rewatch of that. The Bride, or it's the motherfucking Bride, which we talked about at length. We don't need to rip into that.
For some reason, people really liked that review that we segmented out. People loved that shit.
Thank you
Yeah,
for watching
thanks.
that. If
we
you
did
did
love that movie.
But it was fun talking about it, I guess. I don't know. The other stuff coming out, Reminders of Him, Scarlet, and then a couple from last year, Arco and Surratt is coming out.
Excited for both of those.
Fallout Season 2 also coming out, and then some older titles, Speed Racer on 4K, The Da Vinci Code on 4K, and then Body Heat is getting a Criterion release. And then finally, into our movie news segment, we had a couple trailers. Wildwood, which is the next Leica movie. Very excited for that. I think I've only seen Coraline's Leica, right?
Yep.
That was the first one?
That was their first, yep.
So I've seen that, and I've seen Kubo and the Two Strings. I've not seen Missing Link or Box Trolls or what's the other one? Paranorman. So I'm actually really excited to check those out because I know all three of those people really like.
Yeah, I love all of the Leica stuff. I can't wait for Wildwood. This is easily like, and in terms of animation, the highest it could get for expectations for me. Just because I love Leica. I think Missing Link is maybe their worst, but it's not even like it's not bad. It's just you have bangers in that category. Kubo is so good.
Yeah, Kubo's
The
sweet.
Box Trolls is so funny for being a animated film about like these little garbage trolls. And it's just it's really cute and it's really endearing. But I love that animation studio, and I'm always like, I want you to make more movies, but then I'm like, I see like the making of featurettes. I'm like, I get why you can't make more movies because this takes a long time.
Right.
So I'm excited for that.
The other trailer we got was Lanterns, the show coming out in August, which we've got Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre in there. And for people who are complaining in that first trailer where they're like, they don't see the ring or you don't see the green, you get more of it here. You actually see it. You see Nathan Fillion pop up in there for a second, so it looks cool. I'm really excited for this. I'm excited for, again, kind of a different direction in this new DC universe after Supergirl comes out, and we've had a lot of James Gunn feeling projects or, written and directed by him, directly. So excited for Lanterns. Looks like a good show. Talking about the Oscars, Conan O'Brien's coming back. I'm not the biggest fan of not just Conan O'Brien, but like late night hosts in the last few years. I just don't find them that funny. I will say that I think Conan's hosting this past year was better than his first year.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. I do like getting some fresh voices in there, so I kind of would have preferred somebody else, but I know you like Conan and are probably excited.
Yeah, he's one of my of the recent or the kind of current late night hosts. He's my favorite. I used to watch Conan a lot growing up. I think his hosting did take a massive improvement this past year over his first year. I don't love the idea of him coming back, just because, I still think to host the biggest night of the year for movies, you should get someone that's within the film community. I don't love the idea of getting to, a late night host. But if he can keep the trajectory of up and up and up and just doing better, then fine, build off of it. It's just interesting that I don't know many other hosts, I haven't looked into this, that have three-peated at the Oscars. I feel like Billy Crystal maybe would be one of those, or I can't think of a host doing that before. And it's weird for me that Conan is going to be maybe one of the few or one of the only to do it. So I think it's a fine choice. I think it's a very safe choice. I'm optimistic just based on how much he's improved over that first year. The first year he wasn't horrible, but it was just all right, we're still doing the no wasting time, whatever music bit and all that stuff. And I'm like, all right, just come on, you just do a clean show, host efficiently. You don't need to do a bunch of skits and bits. But I did really like his opening monologue this last time, so I don't know. I'm optimistic. I don't love it though. I'm
gonna say this with a caveat. AI is telling me, the AI overview on Google is saying that Billy Crystal, Johnny Carson, and Bob Hope, hosted 3 times in a row.
I am after just saying I don't love the idea of a late night host. Johnny Carson.
Oh, I wish we could have been there for that.
That would be fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And obviously the Billy Crystal makes sense. And get someone of that stature. Get have Tom Hanks host or have Hugh Jackman host. Someone that can sing and dance. Someone that's a good showman. But you know what? We'll see. We'll see how Conan does this third year.
I think Jimmy Kimmel's done it 3 times, but not in a row.
I don't think it was in a row.
I think Whoopi Goldberg also did it. I don't know if it was 3 times in a row, but yeah. So I don't know. I'd like somebody new, but still just even getting excited. We're like, all right, coming to end of summer, some award stuff's gonna come out. I'm like, Oscars again.
Honestly, that announcement, I was just I feel like we just got off of the Oscar talk. And now it just feels like we're going to get back into it pretty soon. And I'm like, I just need to take a breather. It's going to get so busy.
Let's enjoy the summer,
Yeah.
big blockbusters, and all these fucking awesome horror movies coming out. Some movies that are announced this week, one that I'm super fucking excited about, is a sequel to The Adventures of Tintin, movie that Peter Jackson and Steven Spielberg collabed on 2011? Yeah, 2011. I love that movie so much. I think the animation is so cool. And I know that, I think I remember right back in the day when they made this, Peter Jackson and Spielberg had an agreement that they would each direct one Tintin movie. And now Peter Jackson, I think, has talked about like coming back and actually doing it now. Because I think he just got honored with an award at the Cannes.
That Cannes.
Honorary Palme d'Or, maybe, or something like that. So I think he was kind of talking about there, being like, yeah, I'm going to write and probably direct this sequel. I'm stoked. I've been kind of waiting for this for a long time. I think it's really cool, and I would love to see what they do. Hopefully they keep that same, like, kind of grain of the animation, because I think it looks so sweet. It's such a unique style, too.
Yeah, that movie is massively underrated, and it doesn't get talked about of, like, great animated films of, like, the recent years, which, granted, 2011 recent years, but it's such a good film, and it's such a good adventure film. Like, it lives up to, like, the legacy of, like, an Indiana Jones or, like, a Mummy or, like, a... I don't know, I was trying to think of another thing and I can't, so that's it.
Another great post-2000 Spielberg movie that is just amongst so many great ones. On a different sense, one I'm not as excited about, Grown Ups 3 is coming to Netflix. Adam Sandler, he's got his deal with Netflix to make some shitty movies. I actually haven't seen the second one.
I tried, dude. I gave my fucking all. In, like, high school, I went over to our buddy Jack's house. His family was affluent. They had an indoor theater. And he was like, what do you want to watch? Let's watch Grown Ups 2. I'm like, I'm a guest. I'll let you pick. You're hosting me. Fine, whatever. And holy fuck, is that a tough watch. That was not a good time. I'm happy we didn't finish it. The first one's kind of nostalgic, though.
Yeah, it is. I have fun with the first one. I think it's one of the better, like, Adam Sandler recent Netflix, or just comedies in general. So there's no, like, release date yet. It's not, I'm assuming the 5 main guys will come back for it, but nothing much beyond just that announcement. One thing that I am not well-versed in at all is the Voltron movie coming out, which I guess is based on an animated series, Voltron Defender of the Universe.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill's going to be starring in the movie, coming from Amazon MGM. It's in talks right now to not be in theaters and go directly on Prime. I hope that's not true. Even though I don't know that much about it, I'm like, put it in theaters.
This is supposedly the nail in the coffin, because it's been something they've been talking about for a while, of it not potentially having at least a full theatrical, or it seems like now it is dead to rights, going strictly to streaming.
That's so dumb. I hate that. We always
also
hate that.
like it's Voltron. It's basically Pacific Rim. Like, I don't know much about Voltron, but I know that much. I know that it is basically big robots fighting shit. You want to see that in the theater.
I don't want to watch that on my couch.
Even if it's bad. What? Godzilla, Kong, The New Empire, shitty fucking movie.
We had fun watching it.
Still wanted to see it in theaters. Like,
Yeah.
I don't get that choice to, we'll just put it on our streaming service. It's like, you're going to get more eyes on it if it goes to theaters first.
Yeah. Some other news. There is, at DC, we've got a Deathstroke and Bane movie coming, which that can be pretty fun. It's,
Interesting duo.
I think that, I'm sure there's lots of comics where they've teamed up and done stuff.
I don't know shit.
Don't know specifics, but it sounds like something that would have happened. Greg Mottola, who directed some episodes of Peacemaker, but also did some early 2000s comedies like Superbad, Adventureland, and Paul, which is just fun little trio of movies there. He's in talks to direct it. There's no like finished script or anything, but sounds like it was announced in 2024. And we've had obviously Bane in Tom Hardy played him in Dark Knight Rises, and then in Batman and Robin. Deathstroke, we had was it Joe Manganiello in a post-credits scene of
the Justice League?
Justice
Or
League
no,
or
was
BVS?
I don't think it was BVS.
No, yeah, it was in Justice League because he goes to the boat with Jesse Eisenberg. Yep, you're right. And then is he in the Nightmare sequence?
Nope.
He's not in the Nightmare sequence. I thought he was in the Snyder Cut. Maybe not.
He might be in this.
I don't remember if he was part of that.
Snyder Cut? I feel like I saw promo images of that, but I don't know if he actually was in the Snyder Cut, now that I think about it. I feel like all we saw really of that end of the world scenario was the Joker basically telling Batman he's going to tug him off.
Yeah. What a weird...
Jared Leto at his finest.
He was. He
is in there?
He had,
does he like pull up in a vehicle?
I don't know. He has an eye patch Can you see that on camera?
Is that real? Fuck, I don't know.
I think it
Dude.
is. I don't think he like does or says anything really. I think he's just there. Yeah. And then it's just like, hey, what?
But perfect casting for that.
Yeah.
To not really do much with.
Maybe they could bring him back, but probably not.
No.
So it'll be interesting. We'll probably have some updates there. A couple of release dates. You mentioned Vision Quest. That is going to be coming out October 14th of this year. I think it's 8 episodes and kind of maybe closes out this quasi-trilogy of like WandaVision, Agatha All Along, and Vision Quest of this Wanda and Vision type stuff. And then the Legend of Zelda movie is going to be released in April 30th, 2027. I think that moved up maybe like a week or two from its initial release date. And then some news that, speaking of early 2000s comedies, James Franco is making a comeback, which I know we're excited about. I mean,
A lot of
you always said he didn't do anything wrong.
Okay, I never said it's more of just like I have a lot of nostalgia for him in like my childhood and him being Harry Osborn, and I don't know. It's interesting to see an actor have a resurgence. So I support that, and I think the role might fit that pretty well too.
Yeah, and that role is a villain in the prequel John Rambo movie starring Noah Centineo. And again, we don't have many details about that. I'm not really that excited for this movie. I don't know that we need it really, but maybe coming back as a villain in a movie is cool.
Yeah, he's the opening fucking 5 minutes and then boom, bullet to the head or something like that.
So it sounds like it could be coming out in late 2026, early 2027. The only thing that I'm really excited about is that it's going to be directed by Jalmari Helander, who's done the 2 Sisu movies. That's cool.
I think that might get nutty. Like, that is perfect pairing between prequel or IP and a director, honestly. If they wanted to continue with Stallone somehow, I didn't see Final Blood, Last Blood. I didn't watch that one. Home Alone at his house. I didn't see that. But if they wanted to continue that for some reason, I think even Helander being the director for that would be something I get excited about. So I think that is honestly the biggest. That's the most exciting aspect, and then James Franco is the most like, oh, what are we doing here? That's like, you got my curiosity now. I'm willing to maybe check this out.
It's like Johnny Depp coming back for Christmas Carol, the Ty West movie.
Ty West, yeah.
Same sort of deal there.
But anyways, for that will do it for today's episode, which was basically just the Obsession episode. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. In film, it's not just about what's on screen. It's also about who's next to you in the theater.
For Mason and I at Slate Night, that's a wrap.